An ex-WWE talent fires back after Becky Lynch podcast comments. Plus, Andrade breaks his silence on his WWE contract dispute. And yep, you read the title correct. Vince McMahon wanted Vladimir Putin on WWE television. It's all in the Cultaholic wrestling news right now. Don't know whether you heard, Ross, but Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins had a lovely bit of dinner with Bert Kreischer.
Bert Kreischer. Burnt Crystals cooked them dinner, and Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins said them some very, very, very interesting comments, Tom.
Yes, it wasn't just the dinner that was cooked. It was Lacey Evans at one point by Becky Lynch. She spoke about her 2019 run where she headlined WrestleMania, became the double champion, and went immediately into a feud with Lacey Evans. Now, Lacey Evans was somebody that Vince McMahon was very high on at the time, somebody he was keen to push, and that was her first feud coming out of the gates as the champion heading out of WrestleMania. And Becky Lynch's comments suggested to me she wasn't a fan of the idea.
Yeah, as she says, I start working with Lacey Evans right out of the gate out of WrestleMania, as Tom says there. God bless her, but she wasn't. You know, for me to go from the main event of WrestleMania to somebody who hadn't done anything was terrible, which I don't think is a dig at Lacey Evans herself. I think it's the dig at the booking of going like, you're facing Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, and now you're facing a newbie, instead of going like, you're facing Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair, and then you're going to face, I don't know who was around in 2019, it was so long ago, Carmella. You know what I mean? Yeah. Someone with a bit of stock on the main roster.
Yes, yeah, it was a jump, that's for sure, to go from one to there. Obviously, it comes because Lacey Evans was somebody that was very much a hot prospect backstage, and I guess it was giving Becky Lynch a fresh feud coming out of WrestleMania. It's always difficult when you start a new era with a new champion, and sometimes you get the formula right, and sometimes you get the formula wrong. I think a lot of people talk about Adam Page's first AEW World title run, where it was all about the hunt.
Yeah.
And then once he got the belt, it kind of fell a little bit away.
And it happened again.
And it kind of happened again. This last one was slightly better. A lot of people talk about Bill Goldberg's chase for the WCW World title. And as soon as he won the title, he kind of became second fiddle to everything else going on in the company at that point. So it's common for these moments to really to fall a little bit by the wayside. And Lacey Evans very much getting a kick in by virtue of this comment from Becky Lynch. Now, Lacey Evans, real name Macy Estrella, took to Twitter and she responded to Becky's comments. She said, "Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Can you dig it, sucker?"
All right, Booker T01. The only person who cried more than you was the baby I had on my hip while taking all those opportunities. If/when I come back, you will still do nothing but gently shake my hand and say how cute my little family is backstage."
WrestleMania Lions Den cage match. Becky Lynch versus Macy Estrella.
That's gonna be. They can call her Lacey Evans again.
I guess so.
Because WWE owned it. Lacey really went off on Twitter after this. A lot of quote retweets to people that were liking and loathing her comments in support and against. When somebody suggested that she finish off Becky with the woman's right, which was her big old right hand. I went from the left there, which is
Southpaw stuff, baby.
I'm a lefty, aren't I?
Yeah.
Creative lefties. And to which Lacey Evans responded saying, "I tried. She cried for 2 hours. Then no salt." Yeah, so suggesting there was a little bit of backstage animosity between Lacey Evans and Becky Lynch.
Yeah. Well, just get them in the ring. Just let them fight.
Lions
Do
down.
it.
Get a line down. This interview with Bert Kreischer has pulled a few interesting conversations out, one of which we spoke about on Cultaholic.com, and it's been all over our socials as well, which is Becky Lynch talking about a former WWE talent who would allegedly blacklist female wrestlers on the roster who didn't sleep with them.
Yeah, Becky said, I'm not going to name names, but there was a guy on the main roster who was like, be careful, because one, he'll try to sleep with you. If he sleeps with you, then he'll blacklist you. And if he tries to sleep with you and you don't sleep with him, what does that mean? He'll also blacklist you. So there was this line that you had to walk on this tightrope. At one point, he got my number, and I remember being like, how do you walk this line? Because if you get in a relationship and things go south, they're not going to fire the guy. Oh, my God. They're always going to fire the girl, you know? So it was very, very scary thing.
Now, she didn't elaborate as to who this was. It was kind of delivered in quite a jokey manner because Bert suggests that it might be Cody Rhodes.
I think that's just because of Bert's ties with Cody from, was it the Go Big show when Cody was in AEW? He was a judge. And
it was all done. It was all very tongue-in-cheek. He wasn't suggesting in any way that Cody was involved because Seth even laughed the whole thing off. So it was delivered in quite a jokey way, but quite a serious thing to talk about. And Becky Lynch didn't name names. And unfortunately, when you do speak about that and you do tell a story like that and you don't name the names, I'm not suggesting that she do or she don't. It's her story to tell as and when she wants to. But in doing that, you're going to have a lot of speculation online, and you're going to get a lot of people having fingers pointed at them who may have had absolutely nothing to do with that situation.
Because it doesn't sound like a managerial positioned person. It sounds like someone who's on the roster, she says.
And this is and this is the problem, is that even now, we're talking here and we're speculating who it could be and where it could be. And I don't think that I would be intrigued to see whether more comes of this now that Becky has kind of started opening the can of worms somewhat on this, to see whether or not more comes out of it. The whole interview is really interesting. There's loads of stuff in there. An awful Irish impression by Seth Rollins as well, which I think he should have come to you for an Irish impression.
Oh yes. You know what I thought about, Tom? A little bit of Irish chocolate.
There it is.
A little bit of Irish chocolate.
There it is. Another big talking point from last night, away from Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins' bit of dinner with Bert, was Andrade popping up on TV Azteca Deportivo. First time in a while we've seen Andrade on television, because of course, according to WWE, he's not allowed to do a wrestle.
Yeah, he rocked up on AEW that time and then quickly found out you can't do that on AEW, so off he went to wrestle around the world, but not on TV.
He's been nowhere else. This all comes after what has been a tumultuous couple of months for Andrade, getting released from WWE, his contract terminated early, and then finding out, as Ross said after debuting on Dynamite, no escape.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Andrade spoke about his return to WWE and said he was happy in AEW, but of course he wanted to be with his wife in WWE.
Yeah, the couple wound up obviously getting divorced, but he says that happened in the best way. What do you reckon that is, Tom? Let's speculate about the best way.
They shook hands and went off into the sunset their separate ways.
With a little bit of Irish chocolate.
A little bit of Irish chocolate. And I would hope it was just a case of going, this really ain't working, but all the best to you.
50% to you, 50 to me. Let's crack on with life.
A conscious uncoupling, as Gwyneth Paltrow and a man from Coldplay called it that time, which made them sound like troublesome trucks from Thomas the Tank Engine. Andrade spoke briefly about his AEW appearance and said it led to obviously an ongoing contract dispute, confirming that he is in the middle of legal processes to break it. Now, he also gave he went on to say that this is now something they don't want to escalate in court.
Yeah, he says obviously the biggest implication for the sort of legal ramifications of what's going on is the financial aspect of it, but he says the WWE are trying to negotiate as to not go to court, so as to not get the lawyers involved. Well, there might as well be some sort of lawyer involved, but not those horrible ones you have to pay in court.
Yeah, not those horrible ones that are really good. I think that possibly the reason for this is because, and this has been mentioned on a few other platforms, I think David Otunga's talked about this a little bit as well, this no-compete thing isn't something that could really hold up in a court of law. The idea of
For that long.
Yeah. You can't work anywhere because of the way that you breached a contract. Famously, Brock Lesnar was somebody that challenged this, and he won to the point where he renamed his finisher F5 The Verdict whilst wrestling in Japan. We've recently talked about people such as Ridge Holland, who have been in a similar situation where there's a no-competing clause in place for him. That seems to have changed now. That situation seems to have changed, and so I think it's something that they know that should it go to court, it's probably not something they can really fight.
Yeah, Andrade does note though in the same interview that it's close to an end, this sort of back and forth between him and the company, so we'll no doubt find out something in the coming weeks.
Now, where did this whole thing start? Well, in the interview, Andrade revealed that he'd had a warning from WWE because of medicines that can be taken in Mexico but can't be taken in WWE. He revealed that after a conversation with WWE, an agreement was reached for him to leave. So that's Andrade explaining the story behind the wellness violation that ultimately got the ball rolling and led to the fallout that we've got now.
Must be the proper Coca-Cola. We all know Mexico is famous for the proper sugar-flavoured Coca-Cola. None of those bad stuff's in there. Just proper good honest sugar.
The good stuff. That's exactly what
Glass
it is.
bottles, baby.
He then revealed, of course, as we've sort of talked talked about him popping up on Dynamite. He didn't believe he had a no-compete, and then he found out he did, and then lawyered up, and this is where we're at now.
Yeah, and he says that the company WWE are trying to negotiate to not be the full year. So it's how long has it been now since he left? 3 months, 2 months?
3 months,
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but they obviously don't want him to immediately go, because I think the whole thing was, the reasoning behind these no-competes is because WWE don't want somebody just to throw all their toys out the pram, get sacked, and then turn up on the rival show. That was never really an issue until AEW came along. Because there wasn't a rival show really in any way, shape, or form. And I think that now they've gone, well, now there is this palpable competitor financially, if nothing else, that they need to put something in place to stop them from just going off and doing that. And that's exactly what's happened with Andrade here. We're going to keep an eye on that one, and we'll let you know more at cultaholic.com from one person not quite signing with AEW to somebody definitely signing with AEW.
One of the world famous Cowie girls from the WWE, Kayden Carter, going by, obviously, what the hell's her name, Tom? Lacey Lane. Jesus Christ, Joss, you're not awake this morning. Made her debut, obviously challenging Mercedes Moné for her title a few weeks ago. Obviously turned a few heads with her performance because she's now got herself a full-time deal.
Really good match with those two. Really excited to see her, and she popped up a few times on Ring of Honor as well. She challenged for the interim women's TV title as well. So really happy to see her get signed up as well. I think that's somebody that they could really work some magic with. I don't think we scratched the surface with what Kayden Carter was capable of in WWE. Casey and Casey, the Cowie girls, became a team, and they kind of became multi-time women's tag team champions in WWE and NXT. Kind of. Obviously, they were very good, but also due to lack of other options.
Yeah, but you go back to the NXT 2.0 days, you go back and watch the podcast with me, Matthew, and Jack the Jobber, my goodness me.
Never heard of him.
And we're always waxing lyrical about the Cowie girls back then because they were a tag team who had really impressive tag team tandem moves, which was a rarity for that time of the history of the business.
Yeah.
They're like the Hardy Boys of the modern day.
An actual women's tag team in WWE that actually had some women's tag team cavorka.
Yeah, probably stayed in NXT a bit too long, got to the main roster. Clearly, the people running the show, the main roster, didn't quite fancy them the same kind of way that Shawn Michaels did in NXT. But there we go. We don't know what the future holds. She could be a future world champion. We just don't know. We haven't seen enough, have we?
Come back here in a few years and see how aged we look. Meanwhile, last night on Dynamite, the Continental Classic got underway. Jon Moxley faced Mascara Dorada. Moxley's tapped out quite a bit lately. He's been tapping like a drunk man, to quote Jim Ross. It's a classic JR quote.
We've all been there at the bar.
He's tapping like a drunk man. So he needed a little bit of revenge. He won by submission over Mascara Dorada. Seen a few people online, such as the good folks at Lucha Blog, who were like a bit upset by this, going, why have you, in the middle of an episode of Dynamite, why have you tapped out Dorada? Because this is a guy that's a big part of the tapestry of CMLL. This seems like a weird position to put him in, just to be kind of like fodder with a tiny bit of notice towards Jon Moxley. Obviously, it's part of the Continental Classic, so they were bound to meet at some point. Just feels a bit of a shame to have him be the one that does the tappy out thing to Moxley.
Dorada's like 20 years old. He'll be fine. He'll bounce back from this. It's fine. It's Jon Moxley at the end of the day. I know we're doing the storyline where he's becoming a big bitch and obviously becoming a bit of a false prophet for the people in the Death Riders, and they'll turn on him eventually. But still, I don't mind him getting like, the dog's still in me kind of victory like this one was.
So a few people online echoing what we said about Kevin Knight. Already they think he's going to be a standout in the tournament.
Love the Kev.
Up the Kevin Knight. Although one has already gone from the tournament, Kyle O'Reilly was battered within an inch of his life at Full Gear. He needs to get some parts replaced because he got such a shoe-in. O'Reilly's Auto Parts. And consequently, he's out of the tournament. He's been replaced by Roderick Strong.
Which I think is... Obviously, real-life stuff is going on here with Cal being hurt, which is obviously unfortunate. Best wishes to him, full recovery, not malarkey. But also Roddy Strong. I think that's a storyline thing as well, because Roddy's been a little bit sort of like not on board fully with the conglomeration stuff that's going on. So I think him taking the place of Cal feeds into that a little bit more, because I think Roddy was the guy who stopped Mark Briscoe appearing for Blood and Guts, or delayed his appearance for Blood and Guts, I should say. I think that was Roddy. That naughty boy.
So therefore, there's a nice little bit of storyline that you can bite onto there. I mean, does this potentially maybe... Do they put Roderick Strong in a position to climb up the ranks of
it would add to that story, wouldn't it?
League, maybe?
If he has gold and Kyle doesn't, my goodness me.
My goodness me. The Continental Classic continues. Now, our main story tonight. I mean, in the world of wrestling what ifs, the more you think about it, this probably is as big a what if as you'd imagine. Vladimir Putin on WWE TV.
So obviously CJ Perry was once upon a time Lana. Lana was the manager of Rusev. Rusev was kind of a Russian sympathizer after realising he wasn't fully Bulgarian or something.
Something like, they kind of just went, you're Russian sympathizer in that sort of, because Lana was the ravishing Russian.
Yeah.
So she was obviously well connected. In an interview, she talked about her run in WWE and revealed a shocking cameo that was suggested by one Vince McMahon. She said, when I was there for 10 years, Vince micromanaged all the promos. Vince wrote my promos. The Russian stuff, he was absolutely hands-on with. I think he was using me as his puppet to talk about America. Because once Trump became president, he sat me and Miro down and said, okay, no more politics. It's too polarizing and controversial.
Funny timing on that one, like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever. Vince thought it was the most hysterical thing. Like, there's one clip I like to throw it to, and they cut to Obama working out with his little 8 pounds, these 8-pound weights, and I'm like, unlike a real man, and I cut to Vladimir Putin, and it's him doing judo and riding a horse shirtless. I understand Vince could just, I can understand Vince just could identify more with Putin, because Vince is lifting a 650-pound, 65 weight at 75. He's squatting. It's like, you're a maniac. He wanted Vladimir Putin to come to a show. He was like, I hope he's going to come.
Yeah. What a world that would have been, because obviously Joe Hendry was Rusev's lawyer or representative for a little while there, or one show. Imagine if it was that show and Joe was just cutting a promo with Putin.
Do you know what? Weirder things have happened in wrestling, and I think a lot of, there was the majority of WWE has been written through the machinations of one millionaire McMahon, and I think that if he had still been in charge, maybe would have seen something by now with that, because obviously, there's the political landscape is still very fiery, but I don't think he would have swayed away from maybe getting Vladimir Putin somehow involved in wrestling.
I guess, historically he's not been scared to sort of, even though, it's controversial, it's dicey, getting his opinions out there. You think back to the stuff with Trump and then the stuff that came after with Rosie O'Donnell and whoever she was fighting in the ring and whatnot. When he didn't like someone or wanted to get a message across, he was never scared to get it across.
It was Rosie O'Donnell fighting Donald Trump.
Yeah, that was the one.
Which led to ultra babyface Donald Trump joining Monday Night Raw, buying Monday Night Raw, and the battle of the billionaires and all that stuff. And potentially there is a time period. There's a rip in the timeline which would have seen Vladimir Putin involved in all of that as well. What a time to be alive. It's Survivor Series this weekend. We have predictions on the channel later on today with Andrew and Sam. Live reactions this weekend as well. I'll be here for what happened at. You'll be here with the WTF moments.
Yeah, Patreon early next week for that one.
We have been fantasy booking what will happen at Survivor Series. It is on the channel right now. If you love the pitches, if you love the fantasy booking, give it a like, give it a share.
Please go and watch it. It's done woeful views overnight. Now it's I'd love to laugh, but it's getting to the point where we can't really laugh, otherwise we've got to pay the bills and whatnot. So if you do like that kind of thing, please go and just engage with it, I guess.
Go check it out.
See if we can turn the tide a bit, because it is becoming a little bit of a dicey time for you.
Look, I know you've made it this far, and we've reached the converter. We love you for it. But if you do like the video, give it some love. This is a little cry out. Like, just go on your Twitters, go on your Facebook, and hit a share it across that way. That's all good. It'd be lovely to do that as well. And thank you for supporting us on the Patreon as well. For you, there is a back catalogue of WTF moments. If you've not done it yet, waiting for you.
Yeah, there's about 30 episodes up there live. There'll be an episode of After Dark this Friday after the normal regular podcast on the YouTube channel, where we talk about stuff that we can't talk about on YouTube because they just demonetize stuff. So they do.
Lovely bit of rough and tumble. And it's the home of predictions as well. And I have been privy to some rather fantastic punishment-based discussion. I said predictions. I meant punishments.
You meant punishments, yeah.
I meant punishments.
Yeah,
I'm old.
Rampage is all I'll say. Just rampage. Just not the concept of, maybe the human being. I don't know. Well, I'm just going to get out of here.
And for the very latest wrestling news at any time, you can check out Cultaholic.com. Stay safe!
Toodaloo! Boop-a-doo-boop-boop-boop-dip-ba.
Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-boo.